Today's workshop is about how to select color schemes. Sometimes, when you're new to painting and you start selecting some colors, you may say, "Ooh, once you get into your painting, you don't like the colors that you've selected." You're like, I don't know if these are working together. So, I wanted to show you some techniques and tips on how to select colors for for selecting the scheme you're going to use, or some people call it the color palette that you're going to use for your artwork. Now, one of the ways that I pick colors is just to go with photographs that I have, because Mother Nature puts together the most amazing colors. So, for instance, this is a photograph I took in my garden of some zinnias growing. And so you can see this incredible pink, yellow, and the bright sort of spring green. So that's a combination of colors, three colors that you could use. Here's another one of the same zinnias, but notice there's an orange one in the background. So you could use yellow. There's kind of an orangey red here, a bright pink, and an orange. All those colors will work well together. Not only will they work well together themselves because they're all close to the same kind of color, but you can also use green with them and that will look fabulous. So again, these are tips that Mother Nature is giving us. Here is a heliconia from my garden. So this is a picture I took of a flower in my garden. And this one, again, we have the green, we have this magenta, so kind of a bright, um, reddy pink, and then the yellow again. So that's another, and even some of these leaves have that blush of the magenta in them as well. So that's something else that you can put together. Now, this is a pomegranate growing on its tree. So here we have that pinky red and we have the green. But notice that on this one, we also have a little bit of brown. You see the brown spots here? And actually, if you take this magenta red color and you combine it with the green color, often you can get to that brown color there. So sometimes, even with two colors, you can mix the third color that would be in your artwork. Now, these are some other pictures. This is from an online service called Pixabay. And so the nice, either Pixabay or Unsplash. And what I do after my workshops are over, I go into the YouTube video, so what's saved on YouTube, and I add links to the different sites that I might mention, different artists that I might mention, and also the supplies, the art supplies to make the projects from any of my workshops. So this one is from either Pixabay or Unsplash. And notice that the artist or the photographer, so a lot of times photographers have taken years of training in order to decide how to put together their photographs. So if you look at this one, you can see again the pomegranate. What do we have here? We have that incredible magenta pink color. Then we also have a little bit deeper version of that, but here we have kind of a milky cream color, and then we have this interesting gray in the background. So that would also be a good combination of colors that work well together. And then let me see. Oh, this is the another one that a photographer did, but you see the drama here of the background. Instead of having a natural or a white background, they put the drama of this incredible darkness in the background. So maybe even a black or something called Payne's gray. So just something that's so pretty. Thank you, Santa the Rizzler over on YouTube. I appreciate that. Um, so here we have some green going on. We have that sort of creamy color and the magenta, but here's a fourth color you could throw in there, which would be some sort of drama for the background. So that's, you don't even think of that until you become an artist, somebody who is going to create artwork, and then those color schemes come into play. That becomes something that you need to pay attention to. In the beginning, you might not pay attention to it. And then you might say, how come my artworks don't have that life to them, they feel kind of disjointed. Why do my artworks not work and somebody else's artworks do? So what you'll find is oftentimes one of the differences is that the other person has chosen a specific set of colors that will work together. Now, there are some sites online besides Adobe. So Adobe is a digital imaging suite of programs. And together with their suites of programs, you can also get the service for different color mixes or different color combinations that would work well together. But you have to pay for that. So I want to give you a couple of free sites that you can go to and get information on. Um, hey there, Coffee Mate. I got it. I got it over on Whatnot. Oh, okay. So here are two free websites that you can go to in order to get color combinations. Oh, I'm the first one who got it. Well, it's kind of like skater, right? SK8 is skate. So um, I had some daughters that like to skate. So there you go. So this is one of the websites here. Um, it's called colorhunt.co. So I believe this is a British website. But again, colorhunt.co. And on colorhunt.co, these are four color four color combinations of colors that will go together. And the nice thing, what I like about this website is you see here where the hearts are. So those hearts are, if you like a color combination, you can, and you're signed on to the website, their website at colorhunt.co, you can like various combinations and not only save those for yourself, but also you become kind of a crowdsource for, hey, Art by Jeffrey, welcome in. You become uh, a crowdsource for which combinations are the most popular because they have, hey, Salmon's Girl, welcome in. Colorhunt.co has the ability, um, let's see if you can see it down here. You can select vintage color schemes, you can select retro, you can select neon, you can select trending. So you can ask it to give you different types of color schemes and then you just select those down the side here. These say new, popular, random color groupings, pastel, vintage. So those will give you, and these sets, they have sets of four. Now, I don't have to use all four. Let's say here I took out the dark blue and I just used the blue, the cream, and the maroon. So you don't have to use all four of the colors. You can cut it down and have even less colors that way. But that's colorhunt.co. And then, oh, thanks, Salmon's Girl, for sharing the live stream. I appreciate it. Here's another website, and it is also British, and it's called Color Lovers. So the color is spelled with an OU, COLOUR, lovers.com. And so this is another website where you can search for different types of um, color groupings, and then they will give you the various types. Let's see, it's under trends and tools on their website. You can find those. Here it says browse palettes. And so, for instance, this one only has three colors, but this one has five colors. One, two, three, four, five. So, again, if you're looking for color inspiration, those are the type of websites that you can go to and just, hey, Critter Chops, welcome in. Thanks for rating. I appreciate it. I saw that you were live on Whatnot just a few minutes ago. Oh, and I'm sure you were selling lots of your stamps. This is if you're on Whatnot and you don't follow him, go follow Critter Chops. That's CritterChops. And if you're over on YouTube, you can also scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description of the video and pop on over to Whatnot, where we have some fun things. That's where the giveaway is going to be later. But Critter Chops is on Whatnot, and this is a beautiful rubber stamp that I got from Critter Chops that I just love. I'm going to be making some of my own papers for collage with these. And so I appreciate those Critter Chops. Thank you very much. And okay, so today we're talking about color schemes. So I'm going to continue with another way that you can find color schemes this is an artist on Instagram. So it is Vitas, underscore artworks. And even though she's in Germany and her posts are in German, so you can ask them to be translated, but art is a visual medium. So here you can see that this happens to be watercolor, but you can do it with oil paints, you can do it with acrylic paints as well. Oil pastels, anything like that. So she has laid out for herself, these are a lot of colors that she laid out for herself in this palette that she has. And then this is an artwork that she did using these colors. So I like this technique for in your art journal. So the place where you're going to just be practicing and playing. For instance, if you were watching my YouTube, no, I'm sorry, if you were watching my Instagram today, you saw that I posted a picture of this, and this is me working out color combinations and designs for a project that I'm doing. And this is just a big spiral bound book. That's what I like. I like, here's more where I was using acrylic paints. This is the color of the year called Mocha Mousse with Pantone. So I was practicing how I would mix that color. And this is the type of three rings binder book that I would use to put those kind of information and play in. And so this artist, she has a notebook and she is putting her colors in and then playing around with them to create artwork. So there's a lot of inspiration on Instagram, and you'll see this is not the only artist that does this. Many artists will lay out their colors and then show you artwork that they have done with those color schemes. And then you can select if you like those color schemes. Now, there's another artist online named Sarah Renee Clark, and that's Sarahrenae Clark, Clark. And she has something called her color cube. She has, I believe, now two different color cubes out. And I don't have the physical color cube, although those are great. Phenomenal gift if you're thinking of a gift for a good artist, right? I didn't buy the physical cubes. I have the downloads. I bought the downloads from her for group one and two. And this is the information that comes with her um, color cubes. And normally, you would get a card with this on it, and then these other details on the back of the card about how to mix the colors, or if you were on a computer and you were trying to find particular color groupings for a computer, these are the codes that you would put in order to get these various colors on the computer as well. So, um, well, right here, you see that pound sign and then the number? That's the color code for your computer if you wanted to get that color up. What I like about her color cube concept, again, is she not only gives you a color palette, so she shows you these colors here, she also gives you some sort of image that uses those colors together so that as artists, you have that visual of not just the individual colors, but also a way that those colors are used. So this is more, to me, even though this looks very summery, um, a lot of these colors are colors that we would use in the season now for Christmas as well. That's why I picked this one. And then here's one with some of my favorite colors in it, which is this is the Sakura or the cherry blossom. And then this is a good grouping of colors. Now, again, like I had mentioned before, you might leave that color out or you might leave that color out. It's up to you whether you use all five of them. But what's nice is she's giving you suggestions for a color palette. Now, this is a very dramatic color palette from her. Again, Sarah Renee Clark. And you can see the black in here, right? In this palette lends it a lot of drama, especially where the highlights are on your pieces like this. So we're going to play with this a little bit later because I'm going to show you putting pearlescent colors with like an orange color and a pink color and a green color of pearlescent paints on black paper. So you can see how the pearlescents really pop off the page. And we're going to use a color scheme similar to this for me to show you that. And these are the paints I'm going to show you how to use for that. These are Amsterdam, and they don't look like much in the tubes here. That's actually what it looks like. It's kind of milky, but the milkiness is actually mica that's in the paint that makes it sparkle like crazy when you put it on a dark surface. So we're going to use this dark color scheme and maybe whip out some tulips using this acrylic paint as one of our projects tonight. Now, besides that, those online references, so everything I've shown you so far is online or on the computer. Like I bought this off the computer and I also store it on my computer. Um, Although those Sarah Renee color blocks you can get as a physical item. And what I use for the physical item is I have several references. One is a Pantone book. So you can get this book right online. I will have a link to it in my YouTube video. Um, okay, I see a question over on YouTube. It said, "Hi, I noticed there were only five colors." Talking about these right here. One, two, three, four, five. And they were asking, is this a good number to use when getting color swatches? And thank you for that question. That's an excellent question. Dan, the breaking news man over on YouTube. Actually, it's the five, in my opinion, if you're a young artist, meaning somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, five colors can be a lot. I suggest that you start with either three colors or four colors. Because if you select three colors, you can use white also to lighten, let's say that you have sort of a maroon color like this one right here. So let me give you a for instance. So if you were using this sort of maroon color and a yellow, you could mix this maroon color with white to get the lighter version. And you could mix this maroon color with a tiny bit of this yellow in order to get sort of an orangey color. So I think if you're choosing your three colors correctly, with the mind that you may want to color mix them to get more another range of colors, that when you're starting out, I think three colors is good to start with. But then you progress to four colors, and that's some of those other websites that I showed you. Here is colorhunt.co, and they have all different styles of color palettes, and there are only four colors in these palettes. And then, of course, the Sarah Renee is the more advanced with the five colors in those palettes. So, thank you for your question. And I find that artists who are a little more advanced are more comfortable with the wider color selection. But in the beginning, when you're a newer artist, the more colors you have, the more possibility for creating mud or colors that don't work with each other. So you want to be careful with that. Okay, I had mentioned the Pantone book, and Pantone is a company that's all about color. Actually, I showed you a moment ago the mocha mousse color that I was mixing with some other colors. Um, I was experimenting with, and Pantone, that is Pantone's color of the year. So each year, Pantone selects a color of the year, and they also select color families for the year. And the thing is, with Pantone, you pay a lot of money because they cater to um, big graphic arts companies as well as the fashion industry for fabric. So um, it's not something that I've never bought a Pantone swatch or Pantone colors, but I have bought this nifty little book that you can get from art supply stores. As a matter of fact, I got this one at Dick Blick when I was in Dick Blick once, but I will put a link to this book in the description of the video on YouTube. When the video is over, I'll go back and add those links for you. And this is 35 inspirational color palettes. So inside here, the cool thing is this is like a fan. You see that? Isn't that fun? So it has a brad right here, and then these fan out. And these, I believe, are sets of four. Yes. So here's the very first one. They call it ballet lesson. And then it's four colors. So the interesting thing is you can use that combination in your artwork. You can use it in your home for your home decorating. And so that's the cool thing about this is it's not limited to just painting. There are other uses for these sets as well. There's another set which is very autumn or fall like. Oh, they call that one fireside. Here's a set called French Country. So you have a deep blue, a lighter blue, a sort of a gray white, and a cream, olivey cream yellow there. And then this is Snug Harbor, they call it. So you can see all of these combinations of four. This is a very handy book. Um, when do I use references like this? I use references like this when I'm asked to do a commission or I have a project that I've been asked to do. And I want to be sure that I am working with, oh, you're quite welcome. Dan over on YouTube said, thank you. I want to be sure that I'm going to have a successful set of colors straight out of the gate. So that's when I use references like this. Most of the time, I'm just messing around and experimenting. But if I do have a project that I have to do for somebody, then I look up these combinations and I know I'm going to have a winning combination because somebody was paid a lot of money to create these color palettes for us to use as a reference. Now, something that you can often get free, and I received free, is this is Sherwin-Williams. So this is for house paint, but again, it's the same concept, right? You see the color cards, the fan with the brad here. And let's see, this is one that I thought would be fun to share with you. So this says up here, this says historic hues, and then you see this combination of colors right here. So any combination of those colors will look really nice together. And then they continue. So this is for home design. That's maybe you want the walls to be one of these colors, and then your fabric on your couch to be another set of these colors, and then your throw pillows to be an accent color. So that's what these are for here. And you can see, again, they're doing them in sets of four. So let me see that one. You see, I love this because being in Florida, I like these blues and sort of sea greens here. And so these are in the same collection here. Isn't that fun? So, and oftentimes, let's say you're building a house and you want to take some color swatches home so that you can match things up for yourself, make some decisions. Often they will give you these for free to take home, like this one was for me. And holy moly, you get just tons and tons and tons of different color schemes to go with. They're fantastic. And that's another good way to get color combinations. And then now, if you're a crazy color artist like me, and this is a special set of books. It's called Designer's Guide to Color. It's a box set, and there are actually 5 volumes in it. So, what are these? This is what I used for my last big project. I went to these books, and let's say that I want a blue theme, or I know for sure I want to include blue. Or let's say it's the holidays, I know for sure I want to include reds, right? Or greens. Let's go with the greens. So I take out this book, and inside the book, they're all different color combinations. So these are the swatches for the colors, and these are how they look next to one another. Because sometimes just looking at the colors like this, it's hard to imagine what they're going to look like in a design. So that's the interesting thing about this book is it not only shows you the colors, but it also shows you what do they look like when they're next to each other so that you can get a feel for how they work together. And so this can be make a huge difference in the reference. Now, notice here there are 4 colors. I think somewhere in the book there are also sets of 5 colors. But the theme for this book is there's going to be green in every one of them. So, well, that's not true because here's one that doesn't have green in it right here. Oh, they're making a liar out of me. But we have different types of greens here along here. Those were little triangles. And then the color codes are also in here. So, for instance, this one right here, whoop, what does it say? It says Y10 C100 gives you that color, which is kind of a turquoise, right? Well, that means 10 parts yellow to 100 parts cyan. So that's using the magenta, cyan, yellow color combinations in order to create these colors. So that actually gives you the formula there for how to create each one of those colors. There are numbers next to every one of these. Let me see if you can see that. So right next to each one of these colors, there are little numbers, and that's how you would create that color if you wanted to do your own mixing. Let me see here. Some of them are super dark. Where was the dark? Ooh, those are very dark. Wintry, right? Super dark wintry. Ooh, these are fun here. Just a more of a geometric shapes, but squares. And then here are quarter circles like that. So artists are visual creatures. So sometimes it's like sometimes I say, I can't imagine what this room's gonna look like with that color on the walls, right? And my furniture or something like that. Well, that's where these kind of books come in handy is they give you all different presentations of the color mixtures so that um, you can visualize it better because as an artist, I'm like, I want to see what it's going to look like. Now, here's something very interesting. You see the blocks of color like this. And so it makes a huge difference what colors are next to each other. And before you actually take your paint, which costs you money, and put it down onto paper or canvas, it can be very helpful to know what the relationship is between those colors, how they're going to play off of each other. And that's what these color combinations can show you. Some of my favorite are these brights right here. They're kind of pastel but for Florida, they work really well. And I'm in Florida right now. So okay. And here it says color combination techniques. So it's giving you some education there of how to use them. Um, and then in the back here, right? So these little swatches. The interesting thing is that I can look at one of these swatches and just mix some of my colors because I've been mixing colors for so many years. and I can just be like, okay, I think that's going to use this, that, and the other. When I was mixing the Mocha Mousse color, the color of the year from Pantone, literally the first set of colors I picked out were the colors that I needed to create it. And that's not normal. That's only because I've been color mixing and I took courses specifically about color mixing in order to get that level of success. Okay, so Dan, the breaking news man asks, would these books be able to be used for color pencils as well? And the answer is yes. You absolutely can use the same concepts out of these books and out of these books for color pencil. The difference is that it's kind of like with pastels. With pastels, you have to have a lot of pastels because you're not doing very much color mixing on the surface. It's not the same as a watercolor or an acrylic or an oil where you can literally just mix the colors together and get another color. When you're working with color pencil, you have to layer your colors in order to get um, different colors, or you have to have a collection of hundreds of different colors so that you can grab just the right one. A lot of colored pencil sets come in, say, for instance, a set of 72 or a set of 84 or something like that. I always say save up and use a coupon and get the biggest set you possibly can of either the colored pencils or pastel pencils, because when you go to use that pencil, that's the color. Now, I can get it's not as easy as mixing the paint like with acrylic oils or watercolors, but you can take a, a red and layer a blue over top of it with colored pencil and get the look, the optic it'll optically mix on the paper, and then you can get the look of purple, but it's not easy to do that. It takes a lot of practice to know how to do that layering. And like when I work with pastels, for instance, dry pastels, I generally will put 12 to 15 layers on a painting. And so I'm getting different looks by layering different colors on top of each other. And that takes years of practice in order to be able to do that with dry media. So by dry media, I mean pastel pencils, pastel sticks, color pencils, oil pencils, that kind of thing. It Let's see, I want to learn to layer better to create the different colors. Yes, well, if you have a limited palette, that means you have less colors. Let's say I have a color pencil set here and it only has 12 colors in it. Well, you're going to have to experiment with layering in order to get the colors that you want. So the basic blends are magenta or kind of a pinky red with your blue, and that there are lots of different shades of red and lots of different shades of blue. So you have to practice with your different blues and your different reds, for instance, to layer them in order to get violets. So you're going to have your bluer purples and your redder purples. And that's depending on which one of those colors you layer. And the best way to know how they're going to look is to actually practice and make swatches for yourself. Now, another thing is it may be that if you put the red on first and then you put the blue on, you're going to get one set of colors. And then if you do the blue first and then you put the red over top of it, it may optically mix to your eye to look different. So you're going to have to keep a book, a swatch book, and make notes with your color pencils and try those different layering techniques. You might even want to try a third color to layer over top of that to intensify something, either make it more blue or more red. If, for instance, you're talking about trying to mix some sort of purple or violet, of course, if you mix a blue and a yellow, you're going to get a green. If you mix a yellow and your various reds, you're going to get different types of oranges. So those are the basic colors. Actually, I have a color wheel here. So the basic colors, the nice thing about having a color wheel, and it's super important to have a color wheel if you're new. And I reference my color wheel all the time. So, and I've been painting for 20 years. But the interesting thing is you see up here where it has blue, yellow, and red. What you do is you turn that. So let's say that I'm going to mix my blue with this kind of red. See how there are different reds here? There's a red that is just a pure red, and then there's a red that looks a little more fiery, and then there's a purple red, a violet red, right? So your colors can go in different directions there. Let's say that I take just regular blue and I put it with regular red. Notice that I'm not getting purple. Even though, but Tristina, aren't red and blue supposed to make purple? Yes, but notice that this type of red gives you brown when you put it with this kind of blue. But if you move this over here to this type of red, which, oh, sorry, I was on a red orange with the blue. So a red that tended more toward orange, like vermilion, will give you sort of a mouse brown. But if I come over here and I go to a red, a pure red or red that has more of a blue tint to it, now I'm starting to see the violets and the purples. So this can be very helpful to see what's going to happen. Oh, let's see if I take this orange and I add white, here's what my color is going to look like. If I take my orange and I add black, that's what my color is going to look like. So isn't that fun? It's just so easy. You can visualize what's going to happen to your colors. And this can be very helpful when you're wanting to layer, especially because you have your set of pencils in front of you or you have your pastels in front of you, and you want to see if you layer various colors, what sort of outcome you might get. So if you don't already have one, I suggest that you, even with the colored pencils, watercolors, oil paints, acrylic paints, I suggest that you get something like this. I think this is by the Color Wheel Company, Artist Color Wheel. Oh, this is old, 1976. I think I got it from an artist's estate, this one. So this one has been well loved for many years. But it really is quite helpful for figuring out what your outcome might be by layering those different colors. And Dan, the breaking news man over on YouTube, said I did buy the full set of Prismacolor pencils, so I know I have the true color to work from. Perfect, perfect. And just remember that a lot of color combinations, like here, you can see there's RGB, red, I don't know if that's red, green, blue or what, but CYMK or CMYK, that's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay. So that's cyan, magenta, and yellow. So when you're looking on here and you have what they call true red, from a color mixing perspective, it's more appropriate that it is magenta. That's your mixing color. So bear that in mind, Dan, the breaking news man on YouTube, that when you're going to try these color mixes of layering your color pencils, I suggest that you start with a bright yellow. So whether that is like a lemon yellow sometimes, but stay kind of in that lighter yellow family, because as you start to get darker yellows, they're adding a little bit of red to it and they're turning a little more toward the orange. Okay. So you want those true yellows. So up there in that citron, that kind of lemon yellowy kind of area for your yellow. And then cyan is a blue that looks more like, let me find one. Yeah, let me see. I think I might have a cyan in here. Oh, will this open up for me? Come on, you can do it. There we go. So something this is called phthalo blue, but a cyan is something more like this, okay? Not your deep, deep, deep blues like your ultramarine blue, although you can color mix with it, but your middle of the road color mixing color that I suggest that you start with is something called cyan or CYAN, okay? And it looks similar to this color right here. And then the magenta, so that looks something similar to this, like a cranberry-ish kind of color. Those are the color mixing colors in that CMYK, okay, that you're going to want to use initially for your practice, not what it shows here. So the color wheel, it says red, but it's actually magenta. Just think red, magenta, because when I look at this red looks very blue to me. So it's a red that leans blue. And so if I color mix with this red, it's going to be like color mixing with a cadmium red. And cadmium reds are don't mix nicely. Okay. They do mix well if you're mixing them with other yellows, but if you go across the color wheel, so here's red on the color wheel. What's across from it? Green. So this red, if you add green to it, or yeah, if you add green to it, you're going to end up with a brown. So let me come around this way so you can see. So there's the green, and I'm adding some red to it, which is more like a cadmium red on here. And you see that olive color that I end up with. So a lot of times my students say, "How come I'm making mud? I don't understand. Why did my colors not mix beautifully or brilliantly?" Well, that's some of the reasons is that you don't realize that when you get one of those big packs like Dan, the breaking news man, and you look at all of these beautiful reds that are in the set, the ones that are going to layer better, if you want to create those optical illusions of different colors, you don't want the reds that tend toward blue and that look fiery like this. That's a cadmium red. You don't want that red for layering. You want this for layering. And then you're going to get truer colors. So just think of your printer at home. The colors that are in your printer, like I have an Epson printer and I buy cyan, yellow, and magenta. Those are the colors I'm putting, and then gray and black. Those are the colors I'm putting into my printer. And then it's coming out. And this was literally printed off of my printer with just those colors. But look at all the variation of colors that I get just from cyan, magenta, and that bright yellow. Okay, so yay! Dan, the breaking news man, said great information, very helpful. You are welcome. So yeah, create yourself a notebook or someplace where you can keep those layer swatches and experiment and make notes for yourself, and you'll get much better at it. But those are some hints of how to approach it and do it. Be more successful in the beginning. That's my objective, is to educate you all about color and then help you to be able to be successful, the first time out of the box. So my students are like, "How come mine doesn't look like yours?" And I'm like, "Well, what colors did you choose? And let's take a look at those." But definitely, this set of books high on my list for um, Designer's Guide to Color. I think I actually got this set at a Barnes and Noble or something like that. I saw it in there and I was like, "Ooh, yes, please, I'll take that." Very, very helpful in coming up with color schemes for projects that I'm given. If I'm just messing around myself, I don't need the books necessarily. But if I'm doing something on commission, then yeah, I want to use the knowledge that's been uh, distilled by other people who get paid a lot of money to understand color, right? All right, so for today's projects, let me show you what we're going to be using. And I mentioned before acrylic paints, right? These are the pearlescent acrylic paints that we're going to put on black paper. And then also these paints, which are Japanese watercolors, and they're called Gansai Tambi. It's by a company called Kuretake, Gansai Tambi Colors. This is my favorite set. It was actually gifted to me by a dear friend, and this is the what they call the Art Nouveau set, or set number two of set of 24. So let me show you what these look like. There's a cover on it, so I can put it up like this and they won't all fall out, right? Because these are in here loose, so they could it's easy to take them out. So this is what a Japanese watercolor looks like. And actually I have the Japanese watercolor from my mother, who took painting lessons in the 1970s. So this is by Yasutomo, a very old ink set. And oh, here you go. These are the colors here. And I'm not holding it up because there's not a cover over it. But what I wanted to show you was that these pans come out and there's information on the back that tells you what the color is. Now, this is an old set from, I don't know, it's the 1970s, 1980s. And so it's only in Japanese, although it says made in Japan on it. The color is only in Japanese there. But the new ones, I'll show you. And these are the swatches I did for it. That's a nice basic set. But this set from Gansai Tambi, or Kuretake, I'm sorry. Gansai Tambi is the type of watercolors that they are. When I pull this out, like this cobalt turquoise, look at that. Nowadays, you've got the color number and the name in English, Japanese, and Chinese on the back. And it still says made in Japan, but at least you can read it and then you know what the color is, and you can reorder just this color if it's a color that you use a lot and you run out. So that's the nice thing about the modern sets, is it's very easy to know what your colors are. And it's fantastic that you can take them out of here, because then what? I can, and I'm going to do this in just a few minutes. When we go over the table, I'm going to use one of Sarah Renae's sets here, and I'm going to pull out just those colors from here. And then that will be our limited color palette for doing some artwork. And then I'm going to show you using the pearlescent paints on black. So let me set this aside for a minute. The Gansai Tambi. This is the paper we're going to use. So for the Gansai Tambi, they are Japanese watercolors. So I'm going to be working on the Canson XL watercolor paper, 140 pounds, cold press. So cold press just means there's a little bit of texture to the paper. You can also get hot press, or what some in Europe they call it NOT paper, and that's smooth on top, because depending on what you're doing, some people prefer smooth and some people prefer the texture. Then, in terms of the black surface for these pearlescent acrylics, what we're going to do is I have two types of black surfaces. This is incredibly cool. This is by the company Fredericks, and Fredericks makes all different kinds of canvas, stretched canvases, so they're already on the stretcher bars. Also, you can buy rolls of canvas from them if you do large works or you do a lot of painting and you just want to do it on the flat canvas. And then these are canvas pads, so I find that a lot of people didn't know that you can buy canvas pre-primed just in a pad like this. And these are perfect for experimentation, because then you're not paying the price for already stretched canvases, and they're super convenient to use. So that's why I buy these. This one I happen to get from my local art, not art store, but my local art school. And they were having a sale, and notice I paid $2 for it. So this pad of, I think, 15 sheets, 10 sheets, the pad of 10 sheets would normally be maybe $15 or so. And I got it for $2. I knew that was a deal, so I grabbed those. And so that is working with actual canvas. So this is black gesso primed on real fabric canvas. And then the other type of black surfaces I like to use, this is by Clairefontaine. It's called Paint On Black Mixed Media Paper. So what's cool about this paper is it's black all the way through. So it's not just black on top, the whole paper pulp is black. So that means the core is black. So if you want to cut it into smaller shapes, the edges will all be black and the back is also black. So if you're just playing around and experimenting like I do a lot, you can use both the back and the front of this mixed media paper. And like I said, the links to these products will be in the description of the YouTube video by tomorrow. I'll log in there and I will put the links to these if you're interested in picking some of those up. Okay, and then for brushes, my favorite brushes, if you've been with me a long time, you've seen them a million times. These are the Velvet Touch from Princeton. And the nice thing about these, they are synthetic hairs and they can be used for watercolor or acrylic. Um, they would probably say you can use them for oil as well, but oil's a little harder to clean. So I generally like to have a separate set of brushes for oil and then my other brushes for acrylics, the water-based mediums, which would be acrylics and watercolors. So that's what I like to use these with. And actually, if you were in my studio right now and you were looking at all the brushes that I have around here, holy pishmoly, I just have buckets and buckets and buckets of various brushes, short handle, long handle, teeny tiny bristles, big, big fluffy bristles like this. I mean, it's just once you become an artist, you become obsessed with brushes, I think. Okay, so we are going to go over top of the table. We're going to select, we're going to use this from Sarah Renae. We're going to use this set of colors. We're going to pick them out of the Gansai Tambe, and we're going to do some Sakura, some of these. It's going to be so fun. So I'm going to take you over top of the table. Nice. All right. I wanted to give you this information if you're on Whatnot and you would like to go check out my website or check out my YouTube channel. My YouTube is Tristina Dietzelm's Artist, but if you just type in Tristina and Artist, you should find me. You don't have to remember the Dietzelms. And then my website is dietzart.com. So I write articles about these various workshops that I do, and I put the link to the YouTube video in there, and I also put links to the products in there and any other, sometimes there are downloads that I put in with it. Let's say that there's a special picture or something, I'll also put links um, to the various websites and the other artists that I talk about are in the article, and some of the pictures of the work that I've done using these various paints that are discussed during the class. So some people find that information helpful, and you can find that on my website at dietzart.com. And then that's my Facebook, Tristina Dietzart. But you know what I do? I'm always just taking whatever's on Instagram and sending it over to Facebook. So I don't even go on Facebook to look at it very often. So it's best if you check out my Instagram, which is at Dietzart. So that's like the word diet, Dietzart, is my username over on uh, Instagram. All right. And also, if you're on Whatnot, which we're simulcasting to YouTube and Whatnot, the cool thing about Whatnot is that you can throw somebody a tip. So sometimes while I'm teaching my workshops, I have people throw me a tip, which is always awesome. Love that. And if you are on YouTube and you'd like to give me a tip, you can go to coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com. And my username is Tristina Dietz Art over on coffee.com. When I go in and I put all of the links into the video tomorrow for this live, the link to the coffee account is also there. So if you want to buy me a coffee, woo-woo, that's always welcome as well. So hold on just a second. Let's go ahead and get this Canson watercolor, my favorite paper. We'll move these black out of the way for right now. And we're going to work with the Sakura. So Sakura are cherry blossoms, and they have lots of cherry trees over in Japan, and they even have something called the Cherry Blossom Festival over there. And I grew up in Asia. I love persimmons. I love the look painting pine trees. I love the cherry blossoms. There are just some imagery that's ubiquitous with Asia, and this is one of them. So it's very fitting that we would use Japanese watercolors to create this. So let's take a look at these colors and get the closest colors in here and pull them out. That's the beautiful thing about this set. So, and the other cool thing about this set is it says the color name and number right here. So after I have all of these colors out, if I want to put them back in, it's easy to see what slots they go in. Okay, so let's do this. This green is very close to this green over here. So I'm going to grab that one. This is like a minty green, and I don't have a minty green in here. Let me see something. I have bought additional colors like this. Um, so the place where you can get these, there are a few art supply stores where you can also buy the individual trays. So I bought individual trays and of different colors, but I don't see this particular color of like light green right there. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to take this ecru beige, and then we may be able to color mix these two to get this sort of minty green color here, or maybe white. We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll see. And actually, this Art Nouveau set does not have white, and I did not purchase white. Additionally, because this old set of Yatsutomo that I have here has a white in it right here. So we'll pull that white out because I may just, now I didn't clean it up from the last time I used it. So you see the blue that's in there, wah, wah. I know I should have cleaned it, but that's a-okay. I'll be all right. Um, okay, so I'm just going to put this out, and then I can mix this color between those three. Um, there's this light blue. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at these two blues right here, this one and this one, they don't actually look like that, do they? They're a little bit more toward the green side, and this one has a lot of white in it. So once again, I'm looking at the extra colors that I purchased, and there you go. There's the color right there. So that's why when I get a set like that, I think there are over 200 colors in the Gansai Tambi line. And so you're able to sort of customize your sets. And that's what I did here. This actually comes empty so that you can put your selected colors in it. But there you go. That's the right color for that. So let's put that one there. And then the maroon, there are lots of beautiful maroons in this set right here. So let's get the maroon right there. A pink, oh my goodness. There are beautiful pinks here too. Let's grab the pale pink. And then this green, we already have the green. So we are good to go. So that's 5 colors plus white. I threw the white in there. So it's okay to have white and black as well. All right. So let's put this up here. And what I'm going to do is put these colors on top of here like that, so that I have my reference photo that I'm working from. Can y'all see that? Yep, you can. Cool. Now, some people start with sketching, right? Where you would go onto your paper, your watercolor paper with a pencil. So I am going to do a little bit of that because I just want to get a feel for how the branches are going to go. Okay. So I'm going to put the big branch coming up this way. And then I'm going to put, there's like a branch coming up off of here. And then I have a branch out here. And I have another branch that comes like that. So something like that. That's just to give a feel for what's the approximate design going to be. You could go ahead and do all these little leaves and flowers, but we're not going to do that tonight. That's not to say that I don't do that. I do drawings quite often, but I'm just not going to do that right now. Now, for the size of paper that I have, you see these two brushes? One is a size 6 and the other is a size 10. So if you look at the tops of those brushes, this one's significantly larger than this one. And based on the space that I have here, I'm going to go with the 6 because the 10 um, is a lot larger and would cover a lot more ground. And I don't need the flowers to be that big. Now I've got some water here. So I'm just going to dip my brush. I like to get my brush wet first. Another thing you can do to get your paints ready to use is you can put some water on the paints. So here I have water with a dropper in it. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put some water in these pans. These are called watercolor pans. And that will activate the color. Okay. That helps to get the color moving. Now, before we get started, let me take another piece of watercolor paper. This is, I always have just pieces of paper next to me that I'm using for as a blotter. And if you want to check your colors, you it's helpful to just have a piece of watercolor paper next to you. Ah, okay. So I know what that looks like. And then I'm just going to go straight. I know a lot of people are like, don't do that. Yeah, I just go straight into my other color. It does not matter. Ooh, beautiful. So that's the deep version of this pink, right? Now I'm not going to put that pink into the blue because that's a lighter version of a red, right? So here's the blue. Yeah, gorgeous. What you're going to notice about Japanese watercolors, if you ever use them, is that Japanese watercolors have um, they're not fully opaque, but they're much more opaque than they are transparent. So bear that in mind when you're using them, is they're not gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, but they are very close to a gouache. If you look there, you can see that it's partially covering up those black dots that are underneath there. So yeah, you're going to be able to see a little bit through it. I guess you would call them semi-opaque then, or semi-transparent. All right, let's try the green here. Now, what I need to do is add some of that white to the green, right? Because I want to try to get this sort of minty color. So, oh yeah, look at that. Nice. I did get a minty color. Fantastic. Awesome. I may not even need this ecru color then. Let's take that out of there for right now because it looks like adding the white is allowing me to get this sort of minty color right there. Fantastic. Thank you, white. That's why if the white doesn't come in the set, like there's no white in this Art Nouveau set, make sure that you buy yourself an extra white, okay? Because you are going to need it. Oh, okay, awesome. So that's our 5 colors right there. Hey, just so that maybe it might help your brain. Let's put them in the order that they have them here. Bloop. There you go. Just like that. Fantastic. All right. They look terrific. But you see why it's important to swatch a little bit because then you can be sure that you know what the colors are going to look like once they end up on your surface there. Okay, so what I'm going to start out with is I'm going to start out with this branch. So I'm going to get a little bit of this green. Ooh, that's where I can use some of this. Here, let's just get a little bit more green in there. And I'm going to just do this. It's kind of thick, right? That branch that's in the background is kind of thick. Now, just Don't stress if there are pencil lines showing, okay? As a watercolor artist, it's natural. It's something you're going to see often. You're going to see pencil marks because a lot of watercolorists will sketch out their artwork before they paint over top of it. And watercolor tends to be a translucent medium. So you're going to see pencil lines. No stress, okay? No fuss, no muss. You're good. Now I'm going to make this just a little bit thicker because that's the big branch there coming up. This one. All right. And then, you know what they didn't suggest is some sort of brown. And these branches right here are brown. Why wouldn't they suggest brown? That's okay. Doesn't matter. I have brown right here. So what I did was I just looked into my Art Nouveau set and I have a beautiful brown. So I'm just going to grab this brown and bring it up in here. Put it up in here. It's okay if it touches. What's happening is as the dark color touches the light color is still wet and the color is exploding into there. And I think it's fabulous. Let me bring it up closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Can you see where the color is exploding into the branch? I actually love that. Yes, yes. So I love it. I'm going to actually put it in here and just have some fun with that. Yeah, because this big branch is still wet. And so it's just diffusing. It's fabulous. I love it. Okay, thank you. I'm going to put that back away. See, she didn't have a brown in there yet. You know, the tree has brown. Now, a couple of little dots got on my paper right here, and I have my favorite scrubber brush. This is the Willows Blender from Princeton Velvet Touch, and it has a stiff head to it right here. So I'm just going to dip that in some water, and I'm going to do this. As long as you do it right away, I find it's easier to take that color that's gone astray away. Now, you need to make sure that you are working on a proper watercolor paper in order to do this because watercolor paper is sized. So the paper itself has this thing they call sizing in it, and it causes the paint to sit on top of the paper. And that allows you to have the color fuse with itself instead of soaking directly into the paper and not being able to move it around. That's the sizing is where the magic comes from in watercolor paper. Look, some people would also say it's the material that the paper's made out of because there's tree cellulose, there's bamboo, there's cotton. And so there are different mixes that companies use for creating the paper. But the reason that I share with you this Canson XL paper pad is because it's such a great all around paper. There are a lot of great papers out there. So I just suggest that you experiment. And if your art is not doing what you're expecting it to do, change your paper. All right. Change your paper. Oftentimes it's that whatever medium you're using is not compatible with the paper that you're using. So that's a good tip for you. All right, let's put in some of the Sakura flowers. They're so cool. Let's see. So these little flowers have one, two, three, four, five. They have five petals. So I'm going to start with watercolor. I tend to start with the lightest color and then build more drama, add darker colors to it. Okay. And you'll see me often, I loaded up the brush with color, but then I'm dipping the tip into the water just to be sure that that paint is going to flow off the end well, okay, that it's not going to be too dry. So let's just come out here. And what I find with the Sakura, let me show you the shape of the Sakura. So usually I will do it in two motions, one, two, and that gives you a petal, the Sakura petal, okay? And then there are five of them. So usually my petals are I call them compound petals because it's more than one stroke. There you go. Don't worry if the petals aren't going in the right direction. It doesn't matter. You're going to be putting more petals behind and around it. It's okay if there's a little split in the top of the petal, like right here. Do you see the little split at the top right there? And that's because a lot of these flowers will actually have a split at the top of the petal. And so that works out just fine. Just fine. And then let's do this here. So I'm going to make it look like this one. Now I'm leaving a hole in the middle of these. Okay. There are a couple of reasons for that that I will show you shortly, but I'm not putting it together. I'm not doing this. I'm not making the petals and having them come right together like that in the center. And the reason is because I want to be able to put those really cool, these Sakura flowers have these cute, see, like then there's paint in the center. I don't want paint in the center because the center of these flowers is kind of yellow and then it has these little brown or black stamen coming out. And so I just find it's easier if you leave the center empty. Okay, let's do this again. I can tell my brush is too dry because the paint's not coming off the way I want it to. The cool thing about doing something like this picture right here is your flowers don't, they don't have to be perfect, darlings, because there's so many of them. You can't even pick out an individual one with your eyes, so not to worry. This is a time to just play and have fun. Now, what I'm noticing is it looks like there's another branch coming down here. So let me grab this. The color is called yellow brown, and I'm going to grab another brush. I have a smaller size of that same brush, size 4, because I don't want to take the pink off of here. So I'm just going to get a little bit of color on there. And then we're just going to bring this one right here out. Ah, yes. Okay, there we go. Now, I want to keep these flowers pretty juicy. By juicy, I mean I want there to be plenty, plenty of water on my brush as I'm doing these flowers. And that's because I'm going to come back in and I'm going to drop some other colors in there. And so it helps when the flowers are still wet. Wet, wet, wet. Let's do this one down this way. You see how I'm having to turn my hand all different ways. And there we go. Like that. And let's put one like it's back in the back there. I also like to do little buds. So I'll do a bud like this. It might be like 2, like that. A bud can be something like that. Super simple. Let's do another bud down here. Just something easy, easy peasy. Let's just make that one look a little bit bigger. Okay, so let me just put a few more on here. Hey, it's a little thicker up in here, right? Let's put another one in here. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got, let's do a little bit more. I want you to be able to see enough here. So here we go. With the compound leaves here, or compound petals rather. Okay, so we've got some of that going on there. Now, what I normally will do is I'll finish this offline, meaning later, not during class. I don't want to bore you with the whole, filling a whole page with Sakura, beautiful Sakura. But I finish the artworks offline and then I show you during the next workshop. what they look like. Okay. So now this one is still wet. Let me show you what I do. Now the center of here, I take a little bit of that darker color, and while this is still wet, I just drop it in there and let it sort of, it'll fan out. There you go. It'll move around. So we're adding a little interest and a little depth because, of course, the outside of these flowers, the outside of them would have the most light on them, right? The inside are going to be um, like this. The inside is going to be sort of dark. So I'm just coming here. Now these are already dry. So where here the paint is sloshing around a little bit, here because the flowers are already dry, I'm getting more pointed or precise placement. So I'm going to take my brush and dip it in water so that it's a little more wishy-washy. I'm going to just touch my paper towel so that it's not too wet, and then I'm going to come back in here, and then the color is going to be a little more diffused and wet. There we go. But I like to have multiple colors on my flowers. I mean, just about everything that I do, especially the leaves. When I'm doing leaves, I like to do, again, the light color first, and then I come back in with my darker colors and just add that extra drama. Now, let's say that I decide that, woof, okay, this sort of darkish red is too much. It's too much. There's too much of it in there. Um, one of the nice things about real watercolor, not acrylic type paints, because you have acrylic paints that mimic watercolors, but they're still acrylics. And so they will become permanent when they're set. But the nice thing about watercolor is that it's not permanent. Even when it's dry, you can still lift some of the color back out. So I just take a paper towel. Like for this right here, I'm just going to lay the paper towel across here, and I'm going to pick up some of that wet paint. And so now you've got a softer look to it instead of having a real, like the lines like that. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in just with a brush with water on it, and I'm going to sort of play with that a little bit, soften it, soften the edges. I don't want those sharp edges. I want it to just be super soft. And I want that pink to sort of blend in a little bit with that interesting dark color. So you don't have to use the color just as it comes out of here. You can do this kind of exercise and soften it a little bit. Well, that's not. So you can take up some of the color like this. I'm just lifting the color and depositing it on my paper towel because you don't have to have all that color on there. All right. Any questions? I'm looking. I don't see any questions. Okay. All right, cool. Hey, Foxhound. Welcome in. Right now, I'm showing Japanese watercolor and how to work with a color scheme or what's sometimes called a color palette. And so we're using this color palette to create something similar to this, which are cherry blossoms. I love the cherry blossoms. There we go. So I always keep a paper towel in my hand, or you might have a cotton rag or something. The nice thing about using a cotton rag is that you can just throw it in the washer, and because it's watercolor, the colors will just wash right out of it. Don't wash it with like your fine clothes though, because who knows, some of the colors may be staining. But I'm going back in with a brush with just water on it to sort of lift up some of that dark color because I don't want it to be too dark. I want a little more transition between the pink and that dark color right there. Okay, cool. And this one up here is still not dry yet, so I'm just sort of gonna do this and soften the colors here. Wow, there we go. Okay, so by doing that, by adding a second or maybe even a third color to your flowers, you're increasing the depth of them and giving them more interest. Okay, so actually, there's no yellow in here. So what am I going to do? There's not even something. Oh, here I am going, no, it's a limited color palette. What am I supposed to do? Okay. So we'll take a little bit of this mint green and we'll just sort of put a little bit of it in the center here, okay? Yeah, because I want some yellow, but hey, since I don't have some, I have to work with the colors I have in my color palette. That's the idea here, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's do this. Grab a little bit more of that, put some of it in the center there. Now I come back later and I use a micron pen and I add to the flower the little stamen that are in the middle. So imagine this is one of the Sakura flowers and it's dry. I come back and I just make some little wisps here, like that. And then I put some dots, and then that gives you the look of the interior of the flower there. Okay. So that's once this is dry, I would go back with this marker into the center of each one of these and do that. Now let's put some of those leaves in there. So I want to start with the lighter version of the leaves. So I don't want to go quite as dark as this, do I? But what do? I need a palette. I need something that I can mix the colors on. So where did I put them? Where did I put them? I have these little cups and you can buy them in big sets. Okay, but I put something on top of them and now I have to figure out where they are. Here they are. So you can buy these these are called mixing cups. And so I can put that green color right into the mixing cup like this. And then I can pick up some of this white and then I can get the lighter version of the leaves. And then, of course, I'll come back with the darker version to darken the undersides of them, right? And I have a little bit of water that just went right there. So let's pick that up. All right. So that's a nice color right there. And we will go ahead and make some leaves. So the leaves are just sort of interspersed in between the flowers here. So let's just do this. Oh, there's a lot of water on this brush. I probably need to have less water, less water. Okay. And then we'll do a leaf coming over here. Because the interesting thing about the leaves is they sort of go in all different random directions. Let's put a leaf down here that goes up. So similar to the Sakura flower, the leaves I'm creating as a compound leaf, a compound, two strokes. So the leaf goes like this, one, two, and then I fill in the center like that. Okay. Oh, I can see from the video, the colors are looking good together. Thank you, Sarah Renee Clark. Yeah, this probably could go even a little bit lighter. Let me get a little bit more white in there. There we go. Remember that when there's a lot of water in your colors, often they will look lighter, and when they dry, they often tend to dry darker. So it's okay to go a little bit lighter and then come back in later and add something darker if if it's not dark enough for you. Okay, let's do this right here. Oh, nice. The colors do look good together, don't they? Woohoo! All right. Now these are the buds up at the top here, so I'm just sort of gonna put some of the green around them. Look at that. So that they look like they have some green going around them. See if you can see that. Okay, yeah. It doesn't have to be leaves, leafy leaves. Do this one, and then maybe there's another one over here because they kind of are together. Maybe there's another leaf over here. So just have fun sort of filling it in with your greenery. What if there's a little branch, a little green branch coming out here? And then a couple more leaves off of the green branch, maybe. I'm just making it up as I go along. It is a-okay because what? It's my painting. So I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to just create something that maybe isn't there. Let me bring this off here and then put a leaf down here. There we go. Couple of leaves. But you know, the next thing I'm going to do is mix up a darker green and then come in and add some more drama to the leaves. So now we've got some leaves going there. And what about up here? I don't want to leave you naked up here. Let's put a little bit of green around this bud, and then we'll put a leaf coming out here. I like these velvet touch brushes because they come to a snap, what I call a snappy point. So can you see the point right there? Oh yeah. Hey there, Bad Sunshine. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thanks for the raid. I do appreciate it over on Whatnot. So this Princeton Velvet Touch brush has a snappy tip to it. So you can see that. That makes it super easy for doing leaves. Oh, I love it because if you have a light touch, it's very easy to get that the shape that you want going on it. Okay, let's do this right here. And in. Now we've got at least some green up here. Of course, I'm going to go back later and I'll use these colors and I'll fill in a lot more flowers. And for those who just joined, thank you, thank you. Over, hey, stay home to shop over on Whatnot. Tonight we are talking about color schemes. So, how to select color schemes. Earlier, I was talking about some various reference guides that you can purchase as books or websites that you can use. And so, right now, we're working from Sarah Renae Clark, and she has something she calls her color cubes. Um, oh, awesome. Stay home to shop. Thanks. Says, nice to see you. I'll be watching on YouTube. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the YouTube viewership and the likes over on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Ah, but so what we've done is we're limiting ourselves as best we can to this color palette that she provides. She has two different color cubes with a whole bunch of selections of colors. And then I was also sharing some books and some other online references for where to pick up color schemes. So what we're working with right here is this color scheme from Sarah Renae Clark. And we're actually showing how to do something like this, which is the Sakura, the which are the cherry blossoms. Now, I am being a little more precise in the way that I'm creating these flowers. So I'm actually creating petals for them, right? I'm saying, okay, there are 5 petals in a flower. Now, what if you wanted to be a lot looser? more loosey-goosey. If I wanted to be looser, I would go to a bigger brush. So let's do that because, hey, it's just paper and paint. We're having fun, right? Don't stress, no stress when you're painting. This is supposed to be a blast. So we're going to go to that bigger brush that I showed you earlier, the size 10. And there's even, now this is the Princeton Velvet Touch, but you know what? I think I'm going to go like super big, and this is a size 12. It says Creative Rebel on it. This is the Christy Rice brush set. So I was going to use this number 10 Princeton, but I think I'm going to use the Christy Rice. Let's get crazy with hers. And because I like the shape of the tip of her brush right here. And so instead of being so precise and creating each flower individually with 5 petals, you don't have to be so careful. All right, you can just pick up some of this pink like this. I'm adding a little bit of water to make sure that the paint flows off. And then let's just, there are so many petals there, right? That you don't have to make it precise if you don't want to. You can be as loosey-goosey as you want. You could be suggestive of flowers instead of being uh, more precise about your flowers, because goodness knows if you look at that picture, they're just massive groupings of flowers, right? So let's do some more on this side. But if you're going to do something more loose like this and suggestive, I suggest that you use a bigger brush to make that happen. All right. Oh, this is fun. This is so much fun. So I am going to turn my brush around so that it looks like there are petals going in all different directions, right? And then when it comes to the leaves, oh, before we get to the leaves, let's deepen a little bit of the color there. And I'm going to take another one of these little cups, and I want the color to not be quite so dark right there. So I'm adding a little bit of the pink. My watercolors, by the way, like you saw when I first was using the white, it had a big blob of blue in it. That's what's going to happen. Don't be afraid. Just dip your brushes in there and go for it. Because to clean this, all you do is take a clean brush or a damp paper towel and wipe it out. But why bother? Don't bother yourself for that. Just, it'll be ready for some fun surprises the next time you come in. So here again, I'm going to just come in and throw in a few darker, right? This is playtime. This is just have fun. You don't have to be so serious. You don't have to make it look just like a flower. If you have the right brush, it'll give you the right shape. And that just looks like a scream of flowers, right? So let's do some more of the light pink and we'll kind of go over top of those. Oh, okay. So again, you can be suggestive. You don't have to be precise. There we go. So let's say that's a nice collection of color. Now we're going to put some leaves in there. Woo. So to do the leaves, now this brush is a little fatter, and so it gives you more of a petal look. Let's get one that's a little skinnier than that. And I'm going to stick with the Christy Rice brushes, okay? And to do leaves, she has this super cool dagger. Actually, she has two different daggers here. There's a small dagger and a bigger dagger. So which one do we want to use? Which one? Which one? The small one or the big one? I think I'll use the bigger one. Let's just go crazy. Okay. So we were mixing up the green in here. I don't want to use the green straight out of the out of there because it's a little dark. So I want to get a little more minty like this. So this is actually white, but it looks minty. There we go. Super. So let's come up in here and it's like, we have to get a few leaves in there somehow. There's one. There's a different one. There's one sticking out over here, but it doesn't have to be a full leaf. It can just be a suggestion or a part of a leaf. There's another one right there. There's another one peeking through the riot of little petals. Now that's just the lighter version of the leaves, okay? Let's put a leaf down here, sticking out a little bit. Another one sticking out sort of right there, right down there. Okay, now let's take some of the darker green and we want to define those. So we want the color to be darker. So now I can just come in with the darker color and add in a little bit of shadow there at the bottom. And that'll give my leaves a little bit more dimension, right? So let's just do that and a little bit of that. There we go. So now the leaves will look a little more dynamic because they have two colors to them. They have the light green and they have the darker green. Um, and that's true here of these other ones too, but I'm not going to use that brush for those because these were done a little more precisely. So I'm going to use my smaller Princeton brush again, number 6, and I'm going to get some of that darker color. And like I said, these colors look uh, lighter when they're wet, and when they dry, they come up a little bit darker. So see with the leaves, I usually will pick a side where there's going to be light. Maybe the light is coming from up here or it's coming from over here. Wherever the light is coming from, on the opposite side, you want to add the dark. Okay. Or if a leaf is underneath another leaf, you want to add the dark where there would be a shadow. Okay. So I'm just coming in and adding some of that darker color. And the interesting thing is when the color dries, it'll be darker even than what you see on here right now. Okay. You can see how it can be really helpful to have one of these. Now these paints are, they're pretty thick. It feels like a gouache. If anybody knows, I know I've taught about gouache on my workshops before. Gouache is a an opaque watercolor, and so these Japanese watercolors are very similar to the gouache opaque watercolors. Okay, and then we'll add a little bit more here. We'll add a little bit more under here and some on here. There we go. So if you want to be a little more precise in where you put your color, then you want a brush that's a little, you have a little more control over it like this. This is the Princeton Velvet Touch number 6 round. Okay, cool. So you can do a riot of petals and leaves like that with your bigger brushes and just have fun. Um, or you can be a little more precise with a smaller brush that has a different type of tip and then be a little more definite in your shapes. Okay, so we are going to set this aside to dry and we're going to go to the acrylics right now. Are there any other questions on the Japanese watercolors at the moment before I go to the acrylics on dark paper? So we're going to do some pearlescence on dark paper. I'm just watching for questions. I don't see anything coming in. Don't see anything coming in. Ah, that was fun. So this is using the larger brush and just having fun and putting down a bunch of color. And then this is using the smaller brush with a more snappy, defined tip, and then drawing individual flowers that way and leaves. Okay, let's move that aside. And that was using the limited color palette here from Sarah Renae Clark. Now, let me grab the black. Black. Okay, we're going to work on the black canvas. So I showed earlier yes, you can buy a canvas pad. So this is a canvas pad. And it's to me, it's these are fabulous because then you don't worry about your artwork being perfect. Like if you were on a stretched canvas, you don't need to worry about that. You can just play away, and you have like this pack has 10 sheets in it, and you don't worry about it. If you like what you create in your acrylics after the acrylics are fully dry, you can glue this down onto a panel, or you can, I just put it, I tape it into a mat. So for instance, here's a white mat. Let me move this paint out of the way because I don't want to get paint all over my white mat, which I'm famous for. Um, so then I would put the mat over top of that black, see, and then just attach it inside a mat. I don't even have to put it on a stretcher bar or on a block. So isn't that cool? These are awesome. If you weren't aware that you could get canvas in a pad. All right. So what I wanted to do for this one was share a little bit of drama with this other color palette. So this color palette includes black. So you can paint the black. Yeah, nice to know. Yes, Lil, what is it? Little the Dragon Blue, something like that. Sorry if I messed up your name there on whatnot. So the cool thing is you can have black paper, or you can have oh, the black paper I showed earlier that's awesome. Lilith. Okay, Lilith Dragon Blue. Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you. So this is by Claire Fontaine, and it is called it's a mixed media black paper. Paint on, they call it paint on black. The cool thing about this paper is that it's black all the way through. So even the inside is black. So if you cut this paper, the edges are still going to be black. And it's a mixed media paper. So I could, hey, you know what? We'll put some of this paint on both of these, the paper and the canvas, and we'll see if there's a difference or not. But this is from Sarah Renae Clark. So that's SarahRenaeClark. This is from her color cubes. And let me put these colors away here for a moment. The Japanese colors. We'll move this one out of the way. Ta-da. Okay. And we are working with this one right now. So what's cool about working, I could use black paint, but instead of using black paint, tonight I thought I would share with you these really cool pearlescent paints. So these are paints that have mica in them. And you can get some really cool effects painting with them on dark paper. I could have a dark blue paper. I could have well, they'd look, um, let's see, I would say dark blue, dark or black. Now, the interesting thing is, here's white paper, white watercolor. And can you see the colors there? You can barely see the colors, right? The pearlescent. You can add these to your other paints to add a pearlescent undertone to your other paints. So let's say that I took a transparent yellow and then I put this interesting pearlescent green tone and mixed it in with my yellow, my transparent yellow, then that would give the transparent yellow acrylic paint an interesting green undertone. But where these paints really shine is when you put them on black. So there you go. Oh, yeah, they show up incredibly well on black. So we're actually going to do this sort of tulipy kind of image from Sarah Renae on, we'll put some on the black canvas and on the black paper, and we'll see if there's a difference or not. So let's pick which colors we want. We're going to want the green for sure. So this is the pearl green. And then we'll want sort of a purpley color. We don't need the blue. Let's do, what is this, yellow. I wonder if we combine the yellow and the red. Hmm. I don't think it works the same because as color mixing, because this what gives this its color is the mica, the color of mica that's in there. And so if you have yellow mica and red mica, I don't think that you can mix them to get another color. We can try it. We can try it and see. So let's see. They have black and then they have purple, they have red, um, they have orange. So really the red here is kind of an orange. What is this one? Is yellow. So I'm going to stick the yellow here. And then there's green. Okay, so they're close. Not exact matches, but they're close. This one right here is, they call it pearl white. It's basically kind of a silvery color. That's this one right here, which you can add to your other colors to lighten them up a little bit, possibly. And then there's blue, but we don't have any blue in this. So let's stick with these other colors here. Now these are acrylics, so I'm going to use a different set of brushes for these. Boop. There we go. And what I'm going to do is put those out on a palette, but a different kind of palette. I'm going to use something called palette paper. So where is my palette paper? There's one. This is a gray palette. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that before, but um, sometimes your colors will come out more true if you're putting them on a gray palette instead of a white palette if your background's not white. So here we go. This one is let's start with the purple right here. Nice. This is such, oh, so creamy. The colors are so beautiful. Okay, this one is the red. So that's the purple. This is the red, right? Yes, pearl red. Okay, purple and red. This is the yellow. Interesting. So we're going to mix the yellow together with some of the red and see if we get a kind of an orangey color. I don't think that we will, but we'll give it a try. And then this is the green right here. Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to put these two down here like this so I know which ones are which on here, because if you just look at them, it's hard to tell. They look kind of white. Okay, so let's use this over here. I'm going to pick a little brush I think will look good for those flowers. I always like to get my brush wet before I start working with it. So I just get a little bit of water on there, get the excess off. So let's do that purple flower right there. And we're just going to go like this. And it sort of turns in on itself a little bit right there. And then there's more on the inside. The interesting thing here is that I can't adjust the intensity. I can't adjust the intensity of the color. I guess if I just put less color on and let more of the black show through. So if I just make it a little bit more, thin, then more of the black will show through. There. So that's how I have to adjust the intensity here. Okay. Oh, it's so pretty though. I don't know if you can see that if it shows up. Looks like magic. Yes, it is like magic. That is a good way to describe it. Looks like magic. Okay, so let's rinse this out. And then let's do one on, this is the canvas. Let's do some on the paper. Let's do the same one. So we're going to work with the purple. And we're going to do this over here. Interesting. It's going on to the paper a little more smoothly than it did onto the canvas. That's weird. I would have thought the opposite because oftentimes paper sort of sucks in your paint. Huh, okay, well, let's go like this. We'll put a little bit more color on there. Okay, there's that one. That'll be interesting to see how that dries. But you can see the purple color because on the palette they all look white, right? But as soon as we put it on this dark canvas, boom, any of the dark colors, then that's what'll happen. All right, so let's take next. Let me see if I take a little bit of the red here and a little bit of the yellow here. Experiments. And we just put the two together. We'll see what happens. I don't know. This will be interesting. Interesting, interesting. Let's see. Okay, next we will put this one up here. Huh, it's still looking quite yellow to me. So let's grab a little bit more of the red and put the red up here. So we get a little bit more red going on. Yeah, I'm not really seeing orange as it were. I'm seeing either red or yellow. Let's do that. Interesting. Let's do a little bit more yellow down here. We won't know what the actual color looks like until it dries. You can start to see the purple coming up heavily here on the paper. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so let's do this one here. But again, this is using the Sarah Renae color palette, which is a lot of fun. And just try to limit yourself to the colors in the palette. It is not an easy exercise. I can tell you that. Okay. And then we're coming around here like this. We get a little bit more. Um, what I'm finding with this particular paint is it's a little difficult to control because you can't see the end result. So it's kind of like, where am I? What am I doing? But it's a fun exercise though, right? There we go. I'm loving how the purple is coming out here. Wow. I can't wait to bring it up closer to you so you can see. Okay, so the pink there's a pink one. And so I am just gonna grab some more of the red to see if I can sort of create something a little pink over here. I'm gonna leave some room so I can put a leaf in between. Okay. These are acrylic colors, so I could just cheat and get, for instance, an acrylic white. After these are dry, I can come back in with acrylic white and get these edges to the tulip leaves. I can cheat and make that happen. Okay. The cool thing here is there's a little bit of darkness in there, so I want to leave a little bit of that darkness there. Isn't that funny? I think I know which I like better. I think I like the paper better because given the opportunity, I went straight back to the paper instead of the canvas. That is just too funny. Wow. You know, who's to know? You don't know until you try it out, right? Okay, there we go with that. And then let's try just the red over here on this one. Same thing. I'll bring it over like this. The difference is the paper is mostly smooth and the canvas, of course, has some texture to it. Texture. Okay, just do this in the center, yeah. And then now you can also build up the layers. By building up the layers, you will intensify that uh, the effect. Let's do this here. But yeah, I can see where I would definitely need to come in with something other than just pearlescent to make this work. But it's a cool exercise. Check it out. Let's see how it works. Okay. So we have our three flowers right there. Let's put some green in around them. So this is what the green looks like right there in the middle on the left-hand side. Let's see, let's see. Okay. So this one is the pearlescent green. Let's get that one. And you can really see the green when I pull it out like that. Can you see the green there? Cool. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna come up in here. Oh yeah, the green really shows up nicely. Let's do this. Man, that's cool. Okay, let's come over here and I'll do a leaf back behind here. Yeah, the green really shows up a lot. Do that there. What else do we have? Yeah, there's a little bit of green right underneath here. And then that goes like that. And then there's a little bit of green around here. And then this comes over this way. Can you tell I'm an impressionist? I don't do, well, I can do realism, but certainly not hyper realism at all. So cool. Yeah. See how the green really shows up? I love the green on the dark color. Let's do this right here. And then do some more leaves here. So there's a leaf like that. And like I said, I like to let some of the black show through because then that helps to give dimension. So it's okay not to have paint everywhere, especially when you have a colored background like this. You want to let the color sort of do part of the work, right? Okay. And then what else do we have over here? We have one that sort of comes this way. You don't always have to be heavy-handed with the paint. With the pearlescence like this, actually, I think less is more. Right? There we go. Interesting. And then I'm gonna just get one over this way. Let some of that black show through. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Okay, let's go back to the paper here. See what we get when we do it on the paper. Oh yeah, I really like the smoothness of the paper. And this comes down. This, these will come in here like this. Come in here like this. Like I said, you can always come back later and add more. Another layer to the purple, for instance. There's the green. Let's see here. I'm gonna bring this down here like this. Want to bring this down here like this. Wow. Ooh, that's fun. I think it's the smoothness of the paper that makes me really like the effect on the paper, as opposed to, I mean, canvas is cool. You just see the canvas texture through it. That's all. There we go. Nice. Bring this one up over top. There's an advantage using these pearlescent colors to dry brushing. So if you're not familiar with dry brushing, that means where the brush is not so wet, and so the paint, when it comes off of the brush, there's what's called broken color. So it doesn't completely cover the area; it skips over the surface and leaves some of the um, color to be broken. And I'll show you that in just a second. I'll bring it up closer for you. And that happens when your brush is dry, more dry. Let's put another one right here. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Yep, I definitely think I like it on. Isn't that funny? I think I like it on the paper better. I was thinking I was going to like it on the canvas better, but that's what experimentation is all about, right? So let me show you the canvas first. And so there you go, putting the pearlescent on a dark background. What technique I see a lot of clay artists use when they paint their sculptures? Oh, the dry brush, right? Yes, I know. I love doing the dry brush technique because then you get what's called broken color. So if you look here, you can see a lot of the black through there. And that's because the brush is a little bit dry as you're pulling the paint off of it. You'll see more on the paper as well, but this will really show up when you move it around in the light. And it's not completely dry yet, so there's still a little bit of this yellowness from the binder that's holding that mica in there, but that will go away. And then, like I said, once it's dry, you can come back in either with a small, like detail brush and some regular acrylic right on top of it. I would use colors that are not transparent, like white, or add white to your colors if your colors are not transparent. But yeah, so this is on the canvas. And then you're going to see that it actually comes off the brush better here on the paper, on this Clairefontaine paper. And then here's a bunch of dry brush over here where you can see the color kind of skips a little bit. Skip, 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 skip. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. Yep, a lot smoother. Thank you, Salmon's Girl, as well, said Pretty. Um, yeah, so this adds some drama, doesn't it? Drama, drama. I'm a drama mama. I'm a drama girl. Okay, well, I have all this paint out. I'm going to show you what I do to put the paint back in the tubes because I hate to waste paint. I either use it on another project or in this case, I'm going to show you what I do to put it back inside the tube. So what do we have? Where's the green? The green. There's the green. So first, I have this upside down and I want the paint that's in there to go down inside as best as I can get it to. So that there's a hole here in the top and I can see the level of the paint is right about here. So what I'm going to do is use a palette knife. Let's get a small palette knife right here. And I'm going to squeeze this a little bit until the paint starts to show up. And then I'm going to put some paint on the bottom of my palette knife. Whoops. And then I'm going to suck it in raw like that because I'm crazy like that. I don't like to waste paint. There we go. I'll do it again. Boop. And then I put it on there. And then I push it in and I suck it back in. Wow. There we go. Nice. That way we save paint, right? I haven't used these before other than to swatch them. So I didn't know what they were going to be like and how much you were going to need. You actually use, I would say, less than what you think, um, because you have to put it on really thin in order to get the effect to show up nicely. Okay, there we go. Almost. Almost. These were full, so it's very difficult to get that to go back in there. Come on, you can do it. There's a big bubble there. Okay, cool. Nice. So I didn't get it all in, but I got most of it in. All right. And then before I put the top on, I'm going to clean this because if I don't know if you know this, but acrylic paint acts like a glue. When it dries, it glues items down. So if you don't wipe off that top before you put this on, when if the inside dries, it'll glue the lid onto it. And that's a little annoying, right? Ooh, pretty. You can see that green, right? You see the green against the gray? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is while I'm putting this little bit back into here, we're going to run the giveaway for today. So if you um, so that is the end of the workshop portion of the show.